In the age of ancients, the world was unformed, shrouded by fog. A land of grey crags, arch trees, and everlasting dragons. But then there was fire, and with fire came disparity. Heat and cold, life and death, and of course, light and dark. Then from the dark they came and found the souls of lords within the flame. Nito, the first of the dead. The Witch of Izalith and her daughters of Chaos. Gwyn, the Lord of Sunlight, and his faithful knights. And the furtive pygmy, so easily forgotten. With the strength of lords, they challenged the dragons. Gwyn's mighty bullets peeled apart their stone skins. The witches weaved great firestorms. Nito unleashed a miasma of death and disease. And Seath the Scaleless betrayed his own, and the dragons were no more. Thus began the Age of Fire. But soon the flames will fade, and only dark will remain. Even now, there are only embers. And man sees not light, but only endless nights. And amongst the living are seen carriers of the accursed dark side. Yes, indeed. The dark sign brands the undead. And in this land, the undead are corralled and led to the north. Where they are locked away to await the end of the world. This is your fate.
Hello again, dear listener. I am Anima Pisces, and this is a new character in Dark Souls. Because I was getting kind of bored of the other one. I did a lot of farming in the previous videos that I recorded, which really takes the wind out of my sails on a character. I really like. I said that I was going to play a character build that I really enjoy, and I guess my opinion about that really shifted over the years, so I've started this new one, and I'm really just gonna play through the game at a different pace. And hopefully it won't be super boring or anything anymore. Well, hopefully it wasn't before either, because I'm not going to take those videos down. Aw, yes. And hopefully everything goes a little bit better. I'm still doing everything without any kind of script, which yeah, so still probably gonna end up being pretty scatterbrained, but still my primary focus here is to collect my thoughts on various subjects which are going to be important for my Dark Souls 2 playthrough.
Regretted.
Which I was considering.
No.
Which I was considering doing for this episode instead, but I still think there's. I always like seeing ghosts here, but I was considering just starting the Dark Souls 2 playthrough, and which is I'm probably just gonna end up having to jump into regardless at some point, but at least for now, I want to collect my thoughts more on that. And there are some understandings that I have, or yeah, I feel like some of my understanding of this game needs to be explained. To some extent. But yeah, before I was trying to talk about some of that, and it was pretty scattered, and then I was getting some messages from people that I was answering, so it was really disconnected and not very well done, and it wasn't any footage that I wanted to do anything with, really, so hopefully things start to go a little bit better. Which remains to be seen. I'm gonna go get the parrying dagger for whatever reason. And maybe I'll be able to get this Firekeeper's soul also. It's right over there. Because it's useful to have. Maybe I can get out of here. Maybe I can't. We shall see. Oh, getting my throat slit. I gonna be able to... Oh, I couldn't quite roll. That's fine. I don't care about those souls. I'm still gonna go get the Power Yang Dagger, though. Because I want to do a kind of, even though Dark Souls is rather fantasy, I really like the idea of doing a kind of historically representative build, or kind of like a historically authentic build, I suppose. And so yeah, maybe like chainmail and a rapier or something, long sword. And the I still like having the master key at the beginning, even though it only helps at the beginning, really. But anyway, I've seen a lot of evaluations of some Dark Souls 3 content, which I guess I can't really comment on yet because I haven't played it, and I've been trying not to watch any of it either. I guess the evaluations I've seen are that they're like, well, there's a lot of Dark Souls fan service in it, which I can't actually evaluate yet because I haven't played it and I haven't seen it, like I just said. But anyway, the gosh, can you just get out of the doorway? It's gonna be a little bit more difficult than I want it to be. So actually, I'm just gonna abandon it because I don't really like the Power Yang Dagger anyway. But yes. There's make up your damn mind. The I guess as far as some of the characters are, they would call it fan service. Maybe some of them are repeated or something like that, I don't know. Or just like referenced more heavily, because Dark Souls 2 didn't really... It referenced a lot of characters, but it didn't have any like repeats of characters. Oh, you can only parry one in this game. Which is okay. I mean, because of what the game was trying to achieve, in my opinion, what it was trying to achieve, which is to be a sequel. And there's just, I mean, how are you supposed to follow up Dark Souls? It's a pretty big legacy, really, to try to expand on. I know that in the past, games like Final Fantasy, in some respects, don't really take the sequel. You know, they do whatever, really, with their sequels. They don't really build on any of the older stories, except for in the ones like 10-2 or something like that. But as far as the jump between Final Fantasy 1 and Final Fantasy 2, the story doesn't like evolve between them because they're separate stories. That's what I'm trying to get at, is they're separate stories. Am I gonna die here? No, of course not. But Dark Souls doesn't try to do that, as far as Dark Souls 2 is concerned. Anyway, it's not just like a rehash of Dark Souls content. it actually, which, well, I'm sure some people would have been happy with it and probably would have rather seen. Why does that, it's like they're falling on top of me when I hit them with the dagger that close, which is kind of funny. Something which I realized when I was watching my previous one, sometimes, you know, I go to parry something. I mean, I'm explaining this because it's not exactly obvious, but like I'll go to parry something, and I know that I'm trying to parry it because I'm pressing the button, but going back and watching, it's not at all clear that that's what I was trying to do because it just doesn't look like, it just doesn't even look like I even tried, which is kind of funny. So I'm gonna try to narrate that a little bit better too. Like, I was trying to do this here, and it didn't work out. Adjusting my mic again, so. But yeah, I mean, maybe I should have just done the Dark Souls 2 thing. No, I'm just. This is gonna lead into thoughts about. Well, hopefully, it's gonna lead into my thoughts about evaluation of Dark Souls 1. But I mean, so they don't really reuse any characters in Dark Souls 2. They just make reference to some of the specifics, but oh, that bleeds really fast. I've never really used the bandit knife before because I don't really like knives. So, right, what was I saying? They don't really... make use of the characters from Dark Souls 1 or anything like that. They, of course, have armors and things that were in it, that make reference to the fact that they were older, just, you know, older kind of primordial entities, really, which, I mean, is not a foreign concept to the game, given the souls in 1 are, I mean, really, the lords existed before they had souls, so I mean, so there are just like these kind of, these constants in the world, and then for whatever reason, these few are given access to power that they didn't have before, and then they go and by obtaining that power are able to upset the balance of the world, as it was before, just ruled by dragons. So there's definitely a larger, I mean, no one's disputing that there's a bigger picture going on as far as the cycles. The cycle is concerned. I need to give that a little bit more thought. So I'll stow those some of those ideas for a bit here. I'm gonna practice just kind of talking about what I'm doing. Surroundings and all that. Part of the beauty of this game is that you can see so much from basically everywhere. You always have context for where you are. Ha. Iframe abuse. You can use the master key for that one, but the residence key also works. The master key does not work in the lower end Edberg though. You have to have the residence key to open that door down there. But so that over there is the Undead Parish. And not sure about that tower. Actually, wonder what that building is. That's the bridge with the wyvern, where the wyvern will be, and then that's the part with the Taurus demon, right up there. It's all very, very concise. Which is nice. There's very little excess. That's not true at all. But most things that you can see, you can get to. If you run up this, jump quickly. Sometimes you can bypass it, but I did not there. Here is Wizard. Shoot. I wonder if you can. I don't think you can bleed those. Can I wield this? I do not have the strength. It should be fine, because I have a lot of fire bombs. So we'll just deal with the archers and then firebomb the Taurus demon. These guys can backstab you. Oh, poop. I thought I could get the backstab off, but then it was too late. So, that's kind of embarrassing. But I think you can see all the way into like the deeper, darker garden from up there. Which is very neat. I really like parrying that jump attack. So the jump is stupid. These guys have no poise, you can pretty much interrupt them doing anything just by kind of tapping them. Oh yeah. Somebody died there. super easy to parry with the target shield. Shoot. Ooh, bled him through his block. Shoot, I don't want to die, I want my souls. I did see a thread earlier about the quote-unquote bullshit of Sen's Fortress, but I'm not really sure why people do that, because at this point, if you don't give specifics about what you don't like, it's just not very informative. Shoot. And no one can really help you figure out how to improve. And if you're not trying to improve, telling an internet community that adores the game that you hate the mechanics doesn't really accomplish anything. Which I've always been confused about why people think it's necessary. Other than, you know, perhaps to find validation. Which is pretty much why a lot of people do anything, really. But, I could not stop myself from inquiring as to what specifically they thought was bullshit. And was rewarded with a very long list of things. But basically, it just furthered my belief that there's kind of an understanding in Dark Souls that you're going to die. I mean, you're already undead. Death is pretty meaningless. And you know, you lose some time by dying, but you don't really, I mean, death in Dark Souls isn't failure. It's a very different thing. Failure, by my assessment, would be not learning from the things that kill you. Not changing what you're doing, and just not adapting your play style. Failure to learn really is the failure. It's the only real failure in Dark Souls. Other than that, basically any build works. One way or another. Of course, some things are more effective than others, so in that regard, finding a build which kills things more efficiently, or playing a build that kills things less efficiently, some people might be able to justify as being a failure. But, I mean, if you're killing the guys, you're not really failing. Ooh. But there are a lot of games nowadays that just, you know, and before too, or, that like to reinforce this concept where if you're not just, basically every other RPG says if you die you failed. I mean, in a way, in Dark Souls, if you die, you failed too. But it just doesn't really You don't need souls to win. And even when you win, I don't know if you really won in this game. There we go. Yeah. Wait, I want to go look at... That's definitely, can't see it through the crenellations over there. Boom! Easy peasy. Oh, staggered him. Wonder if he can bleed. We won't find out today. You can also get him to jump off. I believe that over there is Darkroot Garden. And at the very least, that over there is possibly the basin. Oh, those guys have spawned in now. The guy was claiming that enemies don't set off the traps. And that the boulder nearly kills you. I'm not really sure what a boulder is supposed to do when it hits you, but kill you would be my initial response. Similarly, if I see blood splattered on something, I'm gonna wonder if maybe something nearby is going to cause me to lose blood. Going too quick here.
The what? We are. But
But maybe there's something I'm not considering. Certainly I died here to the fire the first time, but... And might again. May very well die again. Hopefully I don't. I'm good. I'm good. Well, we started a thief, but we're not gonna stay a thief. Oh, you get a lot of decks. Sweet. Another thing I saw was a question about what if the fire poker or if this bit of metal in the bonfire is what it is. If it's a sword. Really, I think it's a fire poker because all the features of it are common to a fire poker, really. It's I mean, the asset isn't sharp at all. I mean, it's really old and rusty. But that handguard looks a lot more like a fire poker's handguard to me. I think the fact that it resembles a sword is more a quirk of the design than anything else. And I was wondering if you could counterattack crossbow shots, but I don't think you can. So yeah, I think it's I think the fact that it resembles a sword is more a quirk of the design, and the there we go. And reinforces the symbolism that's going on there, I think, with the bonfire. And the bonfire's connection to the undead. So it resembling a sword, yeah, reinforces that, for me at any rate. Which I think
Well,
is
now,
the...
You seem to have your wits about you.
That the, try out the rapier.
Thank you.
It really is hard to continue talking while thinking about some of this stuff. But, so the bones in the bonfire are the bones of the undead, and bonfires are fed by humanity, which are believed. I agree with this belief that they're fragments of the Dark Soul. And bonfires. The fire was linked.
Oh.
Another theory, which I agree with, the bonfires were linked to.
Oh.
Were linked to. Humanity, and therefore the undead. I'm not gonna be able to light roll at all, so. This is more of a... This weapon doesn't really control area, space at all. Which is why I never really use it. But... So to me, the sword in the fire, sticking into the bones of undead, represents how the fire, the constant rekindling of the flame, quells some kind of attempt to quell the undead from rising up from their age of darkness, to prevent it from occurring, which is what Gwyn was attempting to do by rekindling the fire. Was to prolong the Age of Fire, the age where he has power, and not prevent this Age of Darkness, which is supposed to be the natural cycle of things. And later, as we see in Dark Souls 2, so far, his Age of Fire has been pretty his rekindling the fire has been pretty successful, in as far as there have continued to be there's just this continuing Age of Fire, getting longer and longer and longer, and stretching on and on over multiple kingdoms, which rise and fall and are pretty much meaningless. And really, in the grand scheme of things, they are meaningless. Not just because in Dark Souls 2 they're claiming that these kingdoms are meaningless, but I mean, they just didn't withstand the test of time at all. Well, same as Lordran. The Age of Fire is being, it's just kind of going on, but it's adverse to the natural way things are supposed to be, which is a cycle between light and dark. That's what the flame brought with it. With the flame came disparity, and Gwyn is trying to subvert that disparity by lighting it again. And what I was talking about before on the other character that I think I did not do a particularly good job of doing is that he may... Oh, that's nice. I might actually invite that person. Oh. Or sometimes he freaks out. I didn't want to do that. I want to summon. This guy wants to become a Sunbro. I'm presuming. Hopefully this works. Shrugs. That's fine. Now I'm gonna go prevent that hollow. I'm closing the gate. Stop that hollow! Stop it myself. Uh-oh! See if I can make it. Yes. Oh. Well. I'm sure my friend understands here. It was all in the name of keeping the gate open. But whether or not Gwyn really intended to link the undead to the fire is not exactly clear, I don't think. Though actually thinking about it now, I'm not entirely sure why it matters. Or rather, I'm not entirely sure why I think there's any great reason to believe that he didn't intend to link the undead. Oh! Holy shit. You can backstab him. There we go. Alright. There we go. Boom. And you can, of course, do that because he has no plate on his butt. Oh, got his helmet. I'm not sure I'm going to use it, but... Ooh. Aw. Chuggers Anonymous. Anyway. So I guess what I mean is I think that the only real intent Gwyn had was to maintain the Age of Fire so that he could retain power. And that perhaps the primordial serpents used that greed in order to achieve a different goal. What is that? That structure may very well be where the Moonlight Butterfly, like the bridge might be over there. And I could of course be entirely wrong, but I have a feeling that that down there is that pathway from the old church. But we shall see. Halberd's a good weapon, but I ain't gonna use it. Get parried. There. There's so much trouble with that sometimes. Boom. Easy peasy. Sometimes it's hard to kick, but not always. And those guys seem to have more defense, even though they just have a buckler. And this, of course, is a trap. So we're not going to go that way. But yeah, I think Gwyn just wanted power, I think. And the primordial serpents tempted him by claiming that he could lengthen the Age of Fire. Which was in fact the case, but at the cost of subverting the natural cycle, which involves feeding bits of the dark soul to the fire. Actually, it's kind of hard to say because is the humanity fed which is fed to the bonfires really consumed? Is a question that I have. Whether it's consumed or... Oh! Whether it's consumed or whether it still stays around in one form or another is debatable. But that's all for this episode. And hopefully I get to that Dark Souls 2 playthrough kind of soonish. But yeah, I will, I hope to bend your ear again. And thanks for watching.